Hallo und herzlich willkommen in einer Spezialausgabe von diplo.international. Mein heutiger Gast ist aus Ägypten. Er ist Minister für Tourismus und Antiquitäten. Er kann nicht Deutsch, ich kann nicht Arabisch, also sprechen wir auf Englisch. Therefore, I welcome Excellency Mr. Ahmed Issa. He's a Minister for Tourism and Antiquities. Welcome. You just came from the airport, and thank you very much for the option that we can have the interview with you. Please tell me, why did the Egyptian government ask a banker to be Minister for Tourism?
I think, well, that's a very difficult question, actually, to
I'm famous for difficult questions.
Yes. So I think the key thing has been my experience as a problem solver. I've worked for the same commercial bank in Egypt. It's one of the leading commercial banks in emerging markets. And most of my experiences since I was 28 was about problem solving. So every 2 years on average, the board would give me another problem to solve. And when I do well, the next problem was larger. And in that capacity, I served as chairman of portfolio companies, as group CFO in HR. And I think what the government of Egypt was looking for at the time of my appointment was someone to help the industry redevelop itself towards being a more open industry and be able to realize the potential of the Egyptian tourism.
So now you're solving the problems of Egyptian tourism industry. What are the problems?
Well, we have identified 3 key challenges that we have been working on over the past 17 months. Number 1 is the number of aviation seats. Egypt feels that it deserves to get a much larger share of global tourism. And more than 90% of tourists arrive in Egypt via air flights. Oh. And the number of seats arriving in Egypt was not enough to be able to serve what we felt was the right market share. So we worked very quickly with European companies to be able to continue to grow the aviation seats. And in 2023, the industry saw the aviation seats arriving in Egypt grow by more than 30%. And by the second half of 2023, we started to see the pressure on hotel rooms. Occupancy was rising very quickly. There are only 220,000 hotel rooms in Egypt. And that created a clear need for the private sector in Egypt to continue to build or to go back and start to regrow the number of hotel rooms in Egypt. In 2023, Egypt saw 14,000 new hotel rooms, which was about 7% growth, which is the highest number in 15 years. And we're looking at, given the construction progress that we see this year, we're seeing another more than 10% growth in 2024 in terms of the number of hotel rooms. But it's not only about that. We have to improve the customer experience in the pyramids and the other archaeological sites in Egypt. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in the Ministry of Archaeology.
So to solve the problem with aircraft, can you expect that there are more airports in Germany, for instance, to bring tourists to Egypt?
Absolutely. So the connectivity between Germany and Egypt has never been better. In 2023, the industry could move more than close to 1.6 million German tourists to Egypt, to Hurghada, to Sharm el-Sheikh, and to Marsa Alam, and of course to Cairo.
And the topic with the hotels, there's a reform in Egypt with a liberalization of hotel scenery.
Absolutely. So the government of Egypt has announced that it wants to exit. Earlier in 2023, there was a plan to privatize the hotel industry in Egypt. The state-owned enterprise ministry in Egypt owned about 5% market share. It has since exited from those hotels in Egypt, and the industry continues to depend now almost entirely on the private sector.
Most of the countries worldwide had big problems in Corona time with the pandemics. Yeah? What about Egypt?
Well, like other countries, of course, Egypt had seen significant reduction in the number of tourists as the entire world has shut down. But the good thing is that the government of Egypt has worked with the private sector to be able to develop programs that are designed to keep employment, to keep the trained staff in the industry. And as a result, once the pandemic was over, the industry could see a faster recovery than the rest of the world because the talent, most of the world has seen significant challenges with the availability of talent in the hotel industry and in the tourism industry across the board. In Egypt, we've seen fast rebound. One of the main reasons for that was that the employment was kept. The hotels were still opened and be able to reopen very quickly to be able to receive tourists.
And indeed, it recovered in the meantime.
Yes, it did. And in 2023, Egypt saw the highest numbers ever, close to 50 million tourists. And as I said, I'm very happy that the Germans are the number one nationality, close to 1.6 million tourists.
But might be there are other conflicts who might affect the situation, Gaza war and so on. Are you aware of problems due to these conflicts for the Egyptian tourism?
Well, the very first thing that we did in October was to write letters to the 300 companies which populate the supply chain, the joints of the supply chain of the Egyptian product across the countries which export tourism to Egypt. And we've sent them a very clear message. We understand that risks have just gone up for you. We are here as partners to de-risk the product for you. And as a result, we have worked with them very closely to help them and support them with additional co-marketing budgets so they can continue to market the Egyptian product. We have increased the incentive program for the aviation and aircraft companies so they can continue to avail the seats to the airlines. Our key priority was to continue to ensure that the product was still available at the retailer side in the countries that exported tourism to Egypt. And I think that has worked very, very well for the industry. During the fourth quarter of 2023, Egypt saw a rise in the tourist arrivals by, I think, 6 or 7% compared to the fourth quarter of 2022. Actually, the fourth quarter in 2023 was the second highest fourth quarter on record. As a result of working very closely with our partners in the tourism industry to be able to continue to provide the product to the tourists.
Did Egypt establish more security measures?
No, what most people don't realize that Egypt is actually almost double the size of France in terms of, it's a 1 million square kilometers country. And the tourist destinations for the Germans and for other countries, Hurghada, for example, is about 700 kilometers away from the borders with Gaza. So people continue to feel very safe in Egypt. And we have actually produced significant number of testimonials to be able to offer it to the tour operators. And we've given them the content for free for the hundreds of thousands of tourists who continue to enjoy Egypt during October, November, and December, and January, to be able to show it to their clients. Bloomberg was just running a piece over the past 48 hours on the fact that tourists in January in Egypt felt safer than ever and felt safer than any of our other regional destinations.
So the very good development in Egyptian tourism started when you were minister.
No, right? It's actually a continuity. As a matter of fact, I've only built on what my predecessors have done.
Yes.
If you look at the strategy that I have built, it was built on a market research that was done by my predecessor, which told the policymakers in Egypt that Egypt has significant competitive advantage across 4 products. families, beaches, scuba diving, and of course, culture, especially history. And I know you've enjoyed history and culture a lot in Egypt in your many travels to the country. And these were the findings of this research, which was done by my predecessor, actually adopted as key component of our strategy to focus all our efforts and marketing and promotional efforts on these 4 products in the countries, in specific countries that also my predecessor has developed. At the same time, the government of Egypt continues to depend on the private sector to manage and improve the services across the archaeological sites in the country. Again, a policy that was developed by my predecessors. So it's a continuation. I'm here as a banker and as an economist to be able to improve some of the economics in the industry for the hotel builders and for the airlines to be able to bring the right infrastructure for the tourism industry, Egypt, to realize its potential.
Due to the archaeological sites, Egypt has experience with tourism, I think, for 1,000 years or more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a great task that you have as a minister to continue this tradition. Tell me something about Cairo, the capital. There is a second Cairo being built as a new capital. Can you explain how many people living in the old Cairo and how many people will live in the new Cairo?
Well, Cairo is one of the most populated cities in the whole world, and this is the key reason why the government has felt the need to move the administrative capital to another location east of the old town. Cairo has become very densely populated area, and we understand that we need to make sure that the city continues to expand to be able to serve the growing demand for living in that city. The government of Egypt has spent 22% of GDP over the past 7 years on infrastructure projects. Mm-hmm. It's not only about the new capital, it's about linking the Red Sea resorts with Luxor and Aswan and with Cairo. The average speed inside Cairo has gone down to less than 11 kilometers per hour, actually, in 2014. Oh. Mm-hmm. The need for better roads and better bridges and better infrastructure to be able to make sure that the city can accommodate its citizens, let alone also the incoming tourism. Cairo still had less than 30,000 rooms just a couple of years ago. And that number is going to grow very quickly with the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum and as the Ministry of Tourism reintroduces Cairo to the world as a new short city break. Okay.
So are there special touristic plans for Cairo with this city break destination?
So today, most visitors to Cairo, Ewald, are American, Spaniards, and French on their way to Luxor and Aswan. They will spend a couple of nights only. Mm-hmm. The optional overday for the Germans and Italians in Hurghada would, wake up very early in the morning, take the 4-hour road trip to Cairo, enjoy pyramids and the Sphinx and the Tahrir Museum, and then they are back in their hotel rooms by night. And of course, the business people and the GCC families who enjoy Cairo a lot. We believe that Cairo deserves to be one of the most important short city breaks in the whole world. There isn't another city that I know of that has standing monuments for people to visit over the past 5,000 years. Starting from the Saqqara Pyramid, which was built in the year 2460 BCE, and up to today, the modern Cairo on the east side of Cairo. There isn't another city in the world that can offer that to the world. And this continuous history and these continuous monuments can offer a magnificent experience for tourists, we believe. We are actually working very closely with other ministries in Egypt to develop 12 nights of experiences to be available for the... And we're also going to benefit from the new airport on the west side of Cairo. We call it Sphinx Airport, of course. And the quick rise in the number of hotel rooms.
But very concrete, what does it mean, the city break? So can I go for a weekend?
Absolutely, absolutely. So today there are what the industry called low-cost carriers, or value carriers. Depends. So they now fly into Cairo, which is a significant liberalization of the civil aviation industry in Egypt. So now we see companies like Vueling or EasyJet or Wizz Air and other low-cost carriers, of course, from the GCC, fly into Cairo to offer those short city experiences for Europeans of overextended weekends. And of course, this is going to be significantly augmented with the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum later this year.
What is the level of the costs for vacation in Egypt compared to the other competitive countries in North Africa?
Well, I think for the tourists who are really looking, culture tourists, I think prices, there isn't another country that can match this quality of culture and historical experience. To be able to visit and enter into one of the only remaining wonder of the seven wonders of the world is a must-do experience for any world traveler. And again, with the ability to visit streets from the 10th century that's still standing there with buildings from around that era, I think is a priceless experience.
What is your main message on this ITB?
We're here, of course, to continue to emphasize that Egypt should continue to receive a larger number of European travelers, and especially German travelers. And at the same time, we're also here to emphasize how safe the country is all across Egypt. We're also here to talk about Cairo as a short city break for Europeans and especially for Germans. And we're also here to meet with our partners, the tour operators and the airlines across the continent, to continue to emphasize our long-term partnership, the new policies that the government of Egypt is putting to liberalize the industry and continue to grow it, to be able to the products that the German and other European tour operators sell generate very good economics for the industry here, and it's an open country where the tourists can enjoy the same languages that they would want to speak in Egypt. Whether by Egyptians or by fellow nationals from the European countries, and at the same time, it's just less than 5 hours away from most European airports. So I don't think that there is a better value today in the global tourism industry. And after all, I'll just close with this: the quality of smile of Egyptian people and the hospitality that Egyptians offer to tourists. I think every tourist who comes with the European tour operators will talk about that, will speak about the smile and the hospitality. And I think this is unparalleled.
Randomly, when you started as a minister, the ITB changed the concept. That means reduced it 5 days to 3 days, and not for public, but just for experts. Is it an important change for Egypt, or do you think it would be better with public guests in the ITB?
Well, I think one of the key changes that we have made in the policies in the tourism industry or the tourism ministry in Egypt is we want to work with regulated tour operators in Egypt and in Europe to deliver the product to the tourists. I think this is a far better value proposition for tourists. The tour operators add significant value to the product. And I'm very happy dealing with the German tour operators and other European tour operators. And ITB now provides a unique opportunity for me as a minister to be able to, in one place over 3 days, meet with all these tour operators. My colleagues here have put together a crazy schedule for me, starting 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow until my flight on the 7th. I think I fly out on the 7th at 5 p.m.
If I don't have a strike, huh?
Well, I have exactly. Well, I have meetings until 3:30 p.m. actually that day. So I'm very happy to be here at the ITB. I think it offers magnificent experience for partners to meet.
12 years ago, Egypt was the partner country of ITB. Was there any effect?
Well, Germany, as I said, Germans today are the number one tourists in...
Number one tourists, yeah. And the other numbers? Second,
third? Second highest nationality in 2023 was the Russians, followed by the Saudis.
Yeah.
During the first 2 months of this year, same three nationalities, maybe a little bit of change in the ranking, but these are usually... But by the time we reach 30 million tourists, and we have a plan to reach 30 million tourists before the end of this decade.
Yeah. With whom?
So I think Germany is going to be one of the 4 countries that we should receive 3 million tourists from.
Mm. As I'm Austrian, does the Austrian guest play a role?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've seen the number of tourists, of course, from Austria is not as high as we would want them to be. We want more Austrian tourists.
I will tell them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I'm here. I'm meeting a couple of Austrian tour operators actually over the next 2 days. Mm-hmm. I will sure tell them that you said that, Ewald.
Okay. And are there other target groups that you want to attract?
So, of course, China was the number 1 country in 2019 in exporting tourism to the world. Yeah. We're seeing a very quick rise in number of Chinese tourism from over the past few weeks compared to the last 2 quarters in 2023. Mm-hmm. The big challenge that we have there, of course, is the airlines and the aviation seats. I think once we resolve that, we're going to see Egypt receive its fair share of Chinese tourism.
Please tell me, where are you going to make your holidays with your family?
So I've spent the last 6 Christmases in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Okay.
Water temperature in Sharm el-Sheikh is actually warmer than Barcelona in July.
Oh, really?
Yeah, during the Christmas time.
Okay, and your next vacation?
Well, I'm a big fan of Spain, of course. It's a role model for every country which wants to be a serious player in global tourism. Mm-hmm. I think Spain is a great country in tourism. Italy is one of course, everyone loves Italy as a tourism destination. Mm-hmm. But across Egypt, I think no matter how much you travel, is so. And every month in the year, there's going to be a favorite destination for you. Yeah. And there isn't another destination across North Africa that can boast water temperature for 10 months in the year that are as warm as the Hurghada or Marsa Alam, where the Germans want to stay, or Sharm el-Sheikh, where the Brits and the Italians want to go. But then there are unknown areas like Siwa, for example, the oasis on the west side of Cairo, where Alexander the Great actually became kind of a pharaoh when he was in Egypt. And of course, there is Luxor and Aswan during the month of the winter. I think a Nile cruise is a must have for between the temples and the monuments.
Once I had a Nile cruise, it was really fantastic.
Well, exactly.
When you left Egypt, how many degrees did you see?
So the temperature, I think it was 27 Celsius.
27, huh?
Yeah, was it 27, guys? I think it was 27, مش كده? Yeah, it was 27, 28 Celsius.
Of course, don't have 27 now in Berlin, but thank you very much that you brought the sun after half a year of November.
Exactly. I felt a little bit embarrassed actually on the way. Actually, there was a guy sitting next to me, and I said, we're going to land in Berlin, and they rarely see the sun, and this is why we always, the Berliners also get a great time in Egypt. And we landed, it's sunny. He looked at me, do you really know Berlin? I thought I did.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ahmed, because I'm allowed to say Ahmed, although you're Excellency the Tourism Minister.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I like it this way. I prefer it this way.
I wish you good success at the ITB, and maybe we see next time again in TV Berlin. Ich danke Ihnen herzlich fürs Zuhören. Ich denke, das war schon sehr verlockend und interessant. Das war eine Sonderausgabe von diplo.international oder heute müsste ich sagen diplo.international. Ich freue mich aufs Wiedersehen nächsten Donnerstag um 19:30 Uhr. Danke und auf Wiedersehen.